was one of the most famous people in the world, loved by millions for decades. But not everyone loved him. Someone wanted him dead. But who? Let's find out right now. Happy Wicked Wednesday, my Cajun cuties. Yes, it's me, Anne-Marie, aka the Cajun Crime Queen from Carrincole, Louisiana. Cajun born, Cajun bred, and when I die, I'll be Cajun dead. I hope after this video that you like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to press on the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne-Marie. I hope you have a beverage. I hope you have a snuggle partner or a snuggle fur partner. Those are the best, and you're ready to hear a true crime story with yours truly. And as always, how are y'all doing on this beautiful Wednesday evening? It's beautiful down here in Louisiana. Very hot, very steamy, very muggy, but we love it here in Louisiana, and we are embracing this warm summer weather. And as always, how are y'all? What are y'all doing this summer? What are y'all plans? Are y'all going on tons of vacations? What are y'all doing with friends and family? Y'all leave some comments down below. And as always, are y'all getting those exercises in? Are y'all getting those tickers up? Are y'all staying hydrated, drinking plenty of water throughout the day? Y'all need to remember to get those tickers up at least 20-30 minutes every day so y'all can have an amazing day, especially first thing in the morning. And today, we are going to continue with our sad Hollywood tragedies. And today, we are going to continue with someone that is so well known still to this day. Today, we are going to be discussing a very well-known band that everyone knows, and a world famous band. Yes, today we are going to be discussing the Beatles. Well, one Beatle in particular, John Lennon. John Lennon was born October 9th, 1940 in Liverpool, England. He loved singing and performing. And in the late 1950s, he started a band called the Beatles, along with Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison. In 1962, they had their first hit with Love Me Do, which reached number 17 on the British charts. And I'm gonna pause right there. Love Me Do is my absolutely favorite song by the Beatles. I love that song. It captivated me the first time I heard the Beatles album. But not long after that, in 1964, the Beatles had their first #1 hit and stayed #1 for 7 weeks with I Wanna Hold Your Hand. I'm sure a lot of you know that song. What an incredible song. But that was not their only #1 song. The Beatles had several #1 hits, such as Hello Goodbye, Hey Jude, She Loves You, and Can't Buy Me Love. They were an incredible band, and they loved to perform and sing. In 1957, John Lennon met Cynthia Powell, his first wife. He met her in college. They were students. Cynthia learned that John Lennon was infatuated and in love, as well as obsessed with the French actress Brigitte Bardot. So what does Cynthia do? She dyes her hair blonde. John Lennon asks Cynthia out. She says, "No, I'm engaged." He shouted, "I didn't ask you to marry me, did I?" They started dating. They fell in love. But Cynthia says that John Lennon was extremely possessive and jealous, and would get angry if she even spoke to another man. She even claims that one time John Lennon struck her, but after that, he never was violent with her again. John Lennon married Cynthia Powell on August 23rd, 1962. The very next year, on April 8th, 1963, Cynthia and John welcomed their first child, a son they named Julian Lennon. But sadly, in November of 1968, Cynthia and John divorced. John met his second wife, Yoko Ono, in 1966, and the couple was married on March 20th, 1969. John and Yoko Ono spent their honeymoon in bed for a week campaigning for world peace. John decided to leave the Beatles on September 20th, 1969. He wanted to start his own solo career. John was very successful in his solo career. He had 2 huge songs with Whatever Gets You Through the Night and the best song ever with Imagine. What an incredible song. John had millions of fans and they loved his solo career. After suffering 3 miscarriages, Yoko Ono got pregnant, and in 1975, the couple welcomed a beautiful baby boy they named Sean. And y'all, John was infatuated with Sean Lennon. He hired a photographer and had the photographer take pictures of Sean every day of his life for the first year of his life. That's how much John loved his little baby boy. John was over the moon excited. In 1974, Yoko Ono and John Lennon decided to move to New York. They moved around the Central Park area in a complex called the Dakota with beautiful condos. It was overlooking Central Park. It was a beautiful area for Yoko Ono and John Lennon. John Lennon also would stand outside sometimes in Dakota and sign autographs. That's how much he loved and adored his fans. On December 8, 1980, at 10 p.m., John Lennon and Yoko Ono were leaving the Dakota to go to a recording session at the record plant. They were stopped by Mark David Chapman, and Mark David Chapman asked John Lennon to autograph his record. John Lennon said, of course, and autographed his record for him. At around 11 p.m., a limo arrived back at the Dakota, and out walks Yoko Ono and John Lennon. As they are walking up to their condo at the Dakota in the archway, Mark David Chapman appears and shoots John Lennon twice in the back, twice in the shoulder. John Lennon simply says, "I've been shot, I've been shot." Sadly, at 11:15 p.m., John Lennon is pronounced dead. Mark David Chapman sits down on the ground, pulls out The Catcher in the Rye, and starts reading his book until the police arrived. He wanted the police to catch him, and he wanted to confess to the murder of John Lennon. Mark David Chapman was a 25-year-old former security guard from Honolulu, Hawaii, with no criminal record. Mark David Chapman claimed that he had been enraged by John Lennon's infamous remark in 1966 that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus, and by the lyrics of John Lennon's songs God. On October 27, 1980, Mark David Chapman purchased a 5-shot revolver in Honolulu. He flew to New York on October 29, 1980 to kill John Lennon, but didn't, and left New York on November 12 or November 13th, but flew back on December 6, 1980. He checked into the Sheraton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Mark David Chapman was born on May 10, 1955 in Fort Worth, Texas. Mark David Chapman stated he lived in fear of his father, who he claimed was physically abusive towards his mother and very unloving. Mark also begins to fantasize about having godlike powers over people who lived in the walls of his bedroom. He was a target for bullies due to his lack of athleticism. By the time he was 14 years old, he was using drugs and skipping classes. At one point, ran away from home for 2 weeks. In 1977, at the age of 22 years old, David Mark Chapman moved to Hawaii, where he attempted suicide. He was admitted to the hospital for clinical depression. After his release, he began working at the hospital as a janitor. After his parents divorced, his mother joined him in Hawaii. He embarked on a 6-week trip around the world in 1978, and that is where he met his wife, Gloria. She was his travel agent. They were married on June 2nd, 1979. David Mark Chapman took a job as a night security guard at a high-end apartment complex and began drinking heavily to cope with severe depression. He had a mental illness. He developed a series of obsessions, including The Catcher in the Rye book, music, and of course, John Lennon. Mark David Chapman was formally charged with second-degree murder. He confessed to the police that he had used hollow point bullets to ensure John Lennon's death. More than a dozen psychologists and psychiatrists interviewed David Mark Chapman the 6 months prior to his trial. 3 for the prosecution, 6 for the defense, and several more on his behalf of the court, and they conducted a battery of standard diagnostic procedures and more than 200 hours of clinical interviews. All 6 defense experts concluded that David Mark Chapman was psychotic. 5 diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, while the 6th felt that his symptoms were more consistent with manic depression. The 3 prosecution experts declared that his delusions fell short of psychosis, and instead of diagnosing various personality disorders, the court appointed experts concurred with the prosecution examinations in his delusional yet competent to stand trial. Chapman was more cooperative with the prosecution's mental health experts than with those of the defense. One psychiatrist said that he did not wish to be considered crazy and was persuaded that the defense experts declared him insane only because they were hired to do so. The judge ordered mental health treatment for Mark David Chapman during his incarceration and sentenced him to 25 years to life. He has been denied parole 13 times. His next parole hearing is in August of 2025. Mark David Chapman is still married to Gloria to this day. Gloria visits Mark and loves him very much. Mark David Chapman blames his wife Gloria for not notifying the police about him planning on killing John Lennon. Remember, Mark David Chapman had traveled to New York in October and told his wife that he was going to New York to shoot John Lennon. But he didn't. He did not follow through with it. When he came back and he decided to leave again for New York City in December, it was said again that he told his wife Gloria he was going to kill John Lennon. But the first time he didn't follow through with it. So maybe Gloria did not believe that he was really going to shoot John Lennon. But I'm going to tell y'all this. Do I blame Gloria? No. Because Mark David Chapman had his own mind and did his own planning. His wife had nothing to do with that. She did not face any charges. She was completely innocent. She did not want her husband to murder John Lennon. I'm just going to say this, though. If my husband is leaving the house and tells me that he's going to New York to kill one of the most famous people in the world, and I know he just purchased a gun, I guarantee you I'm notifying authorities. I'm notifying the hotel he's staying at. I will let anyone and everyone know that my husband is coming to New York to murder a superstar. But maybe she didn't believe him. Maybe she didn't think. Because I watched Gloria's interview, and y'all, what a sweet, shy, timid, lovely lady. Beautiful lady. She said she was sitting on the couch. She had just got off of work from being a travel agent. And she's about to watch Little House on the Prairie. And the news interrupted to say that John Lennon was shot. And she said at that time, she knew in her mind that her husband has shot and killed John Lennon. So she had a feeling, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, Mark just shot John Lennon. Gloria felt terrible for John's family, including Yoko Ono and his 2 sons. She felt very guilty, but Gloria had nothing to do with this. She didn't know. She didn't know. She didn't think that her husband was going to do this. And it was said that her husband was very controlling, very possessive, would tell Gloria what to do. It was even said that he may have been abusive towards his wife. So maybe Gloria was terrified of Mark David Chapman. Who knows? But in my opinion, Mark David Chapman had his own mind and did his own planning. And the only person that he needs to blame is himself. My final thought, I will always give y'all my final thought. And my final thought is, I believe that Mark David Chapman did have a mental illness, and he was having trouble coping with his mental illness. And I hope that while he was in jail, he was getting the help that he needed, because Mark David Chapman really did need help. When he's talking about having all these powers and talking to people in his walls in his bedroom when he was young, he was already showing signs that he had a mental illness. And at the age of 22, trying to commit suicide. And being at the young age of 25 and wanting to murder a superstar. He had planned this for years and years and years. And it was even said that he had thought about shooting David Bowie. So I don't know if he was angry at John Lennon for John Lennon saying that supposedly he was bigger than Jesus. Or I don't know if Mark David Chapman just wanted to murder someone famous. Because if he was so angry at John Lennon, why did he have thoughts about killing David Bowie instead? It doesn't make sense. But Mark David Chapman did have mental illness. And it was proved by several psychiatrists that he was suffering from several different types of illnesses. And it was said that he sits in jail And he does regret what he did. And he does speak to his wife. And his wife still visits him several times a year. Mark David Chapman, in my opinion, will never get out of jail. And I hope he doesn't. He shot and killed a mega superstar that had so much life and had so much to give and adored his fans. John Lennon loved his fans and loved making people smile and wanted world peace. He did not deserve to be shot and killed in front of his home, in front of his wife. His wife was standing next to him. And to be murdered like that just breaks my heart. And I hope that John Lennon's family remembers the great times they had with him, because he was a superstar and he was one of the most famous people in the world. And his band, the Beatles, is still well known to this day. I hope that y'all enjoyed today's video. I hope that you like, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to press on that notification bell so you never miss a video from me, Anne Marie. And as always, stay safe. Always be aware of your surroundings. And always know that y'all could always message me, send me requests, and let me know what y'all want to talk about next. And tomorrow we will continue on the Hollywood tragedies. And as always, thank you so much for the love and support. And for you, I am truly grateful. I love you all. And I will see y'all tomorrow night with another sad Hollywood tragedy. Bye.